All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at a pretty sobering argument that we are literally on the verge of crossing a climate point of no return. And that means we have to completely rethink what stability and security even mean in the 21st century.
So let's just start with this bombshell from our source material. I mean, wow, that's not some vague prediction for the distant future, is it? It's a specific moment just around the corner, and it's being framed as the start of a whole new irreversible era. So what on earth are they talking about? What is this threshold?
Okay, so to really get the weight of that statement, we've got to be clear on what a climate tipping point even is. It's not like a gentle slope where things get gradually worse. It's much more like, well, like falling off a cliff. It's that point where one small change pushes a massive natural system into a completely new state, one it can't just bounce back from.
Right, so what is this specific line we've supposedly crossed? Well, according to the source, it's the collapse of the world's warm water coral reefs. And this isn't just being framed as, a sad ecological story. It's being presented as the first time in recorded history that an entire global ecosystem has just tipped over into collapse. And that right there, that really hits at the core message. It's this huge declaration that our whole relationship with the planet's systems has fundamentally changed. We've moved past trying to prevent the damage. Now we're forced to live inside of it. And this is the perfect way to think about it. The loss of the coral reefs, that's not just some isolated event happening out in the ocean. No, it's the first domino, the first piece in a massive interconnected system to fall, and it threatens to set off a chain reaction across the globe. And let's be absolutely clear about what this means for people. Right now, we're talking about almost 1 billion people. 1 billion people whose food, whose jobs, whose very safety are tied directly to these reefs. This is so far beyond an abstract environmental problem. It's a direct threat to a huge chunk of humanity.
So here's how that ripple effect actually plays out. Yeah, it starts in the ocean, but believe me, it doesn't stay there. The fisheries collapse. Then the coastlines lose their natural protection from storms. Local economies just vanish. And all of that instability, well, that's the perfect recipe for social unrest and conflict.
So does it stop there? No way! The source is pretty clear on this. The collapse of one huge system, like the reefs, just puts more and more stress on all the others. It makes it way more likely that we could hit other, maybe even scarier tipping points. We're talking the Amazon rainforest, the polar ice sheets, the whole shebang. And this all leads to a really central point in this argument. We have to stop thinking about climate change as just an environmental issue. It's graduated. It is now full stop a primary national and global security threat. I mean, look at this comparison. It really shows you the mental shift we have to make. The old way of thinking? Oh, climate change is slow, it's far away, it's something for the environmental department to handle. But the new reality? It's abrupt, it's here, and it's a systemic crisis that touches absolutely everything. Okay, so what does that actually look like, a security threat? Well, the source breaks it down into 4 main pillars. You've got fragile states and political collapse. You've got resource scarcity leading to mass migration. You have huge, sudden shocks to our economies and infrastructure. And you've got brand new demands on military planning. So if we've really crossed a line that we can't uncross, the big question is, what now? What do we do? And the answer isn't a small tweak. It means we have to radically shift our entire strategy. Because the old playbook? It's basically useless now. Think about it. For decades, everything was about prevention, right? The goal was to stop the bad stuff from happening. But now the argument is that the goal has to be management. It's not about stopping it anymore. It's about learning how to govern through this massive, irreversible change. It's about building resilience with totally new tools. So what does this new strategy actually mean in practice? It boils down to 3 huge, immediate shifts. First, we have to go from small-scale adaptation to a total transformation of our systems. Second, climate policy gets pulled out of the environment box and put right at the center of national security strategy. And third, we stop just trying to mitigate and start developing some serious systems intelligence to actually predict and manage all these cascading risks. Okay, look, I know it's easy to hear all of this and just feel completely hopeless. But the point of this analysis isn't to shock us into just giving up. It's to shock us into a totally new kind of action. It's about moving past the shock and actually building a strategy to navigate what's coming. And this next line, I think it just perfectly captures the whole idea. This is not the end of hope. It's the end of denial. You see the difference? It's not about giving up. It's about finally dropping the denial so we can face this crisis with the seriousness it has always deserved.
So what does that road ahead actually look like? Well, according to the source, it's a massive all-hands-on-deck kind of effort. We're talking about decarbonizing our economies with like a wartime level of urgency, re-engineering our systems for a world that's just hotter, and treating this once and for all as the collective security threat that it truly is.
And just so you know, the framework and all the analysis we've been walking through today comes from the work of Stephen W. Pierce and his consulting group who work with governments and big companies on this exact intersection of sustainability and security.
And that leaves us with this final, really powerful question. From this point of view, the time for asking what if is over. It's gone. The only question that really matters now is, what now? What are the strategies, what are the systems, and what's the collective will we're going to find to get through this new era?